There are two types of photographers. Which one are you? What's going on, you guys? It's Coach Jet. This is the first episode of the Certified Photographers Podcast. I'm so excited because I've been looking to start this podcast for a long time because I've always wanted a podcast where I can listen and get game from other photographers. And I'm like, man, I'm just going to start this podcast today. And I just want to talk about the two types of photographers, how to identify which one you are, or you may be looking to switch to one of them by the end of this podcast, and also the pros and cons of both. So we're going to hop straight to it. Now, listen, there are two types of photographers in the photography community. Some of this may be new to you. Some of this just may be, you already know this, but there are two types of photographers. Number one, the first type of photographer is an IPS photographer. Okay, IPS stands for in-person sales. The second type of photographer, which most people start off with and that they are used to, is a shoot and burn photographer. And I just want to start there because I started off as a shoot and burn photographer, and I'm not making this video to be biased. I have pros and cons of both, and I've currently switched over to the IPS model of photography. So let me just kind of help you identify which one you are, and you can just kind of see what you like. So just listen to this. So a shoot and burn photographer is basically, I book a client, they can go on my website, book a package, put a deposit down, book a package. When they book a package, they show up. I don't know who they are, but they show up because they booked the package online. We take a whole bunch of photos. Once we get done, I put all the photos in the gallery. And when I put all the photos in the gallery, I send them off to them. They send me 3 to 5 or how many pictures are in the packages back. I edit them and they have all of the photos. Okay. This is typically how every photographer starts out, unless you start off with the right knowledge or the right mentor. A lot of photographers start off with shoot and burn, and they kind of don't know that it's called shoot and burn, or they just see what everybody else is doing, or they see what is common to everywhere else, and they do that. So the first type of photographer is a shoot and burn photographer, okay? The next type of photographer, and just pay close attention because you might be able to identify yourself, is an IPS photographer. What IPS stands for is in-person sales, right? So this photographer typically sells work in person. They usually offer tangible products, and they also usually focus on low client volume but higher value experience. Okay, that is very important. Shoot and burn photographers are usually high volume with clients. IPS photographers are like low volume, high value. Okay, and when you're thinking about this, right? So high IPS session will typically work is a client fills out an inquiry form on their website. After the client fills out the inquiry form, you get a discovery call. You call them, kind of tell them your pricing and et cetera, what you're looking to do. Once you do that, you have a pre-designed consultation. Then you might have a wardrobe consultation. Like me, I'm in maternity, so we're going to be implementing a wardrobe consultation. Or you might be having after the wardrobe consultation, you will have like the photo shoot, and then you have your reveal session and your ordering session, and you have a follow-up. You know, IPS is more of like an experience, where shoot and burn is more like you come in, I shoot you, you out, I edit your photos, I'm done with you, right? And when you think about shoot and burn, this is typically where everybody tend to resort to because it requires less work, right? But the thing about shoot and burn is that you kind of lose the value in your client experience. So those are some kind of ways to kind of evaluate which photographer you are, and kind of just listen and see, like, okay, what have I been doing? Have I been providing an experience, or have I been kind of in and out? Now, both models fit certain people. You may just be starting off and you don't have the confidence to do IPS because IPS requires sales. And a lot of people are not confident enough in their policies, procedures, their pricing to sell that to someone. And a lot of people like that instant gratification of funds right up front that a shoot and burn model offers. But as you get deeper in your career, you kind of get to understanding that you're doing yourself a disservice when you do shoot and burn photography. And I say that to say because I'm just gonna be honest, I am IPS now. Like I'm never going back to shoot and burn. I'm totally IPS. And with IPS, it's kind of like you get to like really enjoy the client. So what I've noticed doing IPS sessions is I get to actually connect with the client. I get to actually be a photographer. And I know that might sound like we all are photographers, but I actually get to be a photographer. When I say that, I mean like I don't have to worry about running out of time because we only got 60, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes. I don't have to worry about you posting my raw photos. I don't have to worry about like all these different things shoot and burn photographers have to worry about. Although IPS does, I think people don't go to IPS because IPS requires work. Shoot and burn, it doesn't require work. And I'm going to get into the pros and cons of both in just a second. But I just want to kind of build you up and see like shoot and burn is the points I wrote down on my show notes is shoot and burn photographers takes all the photos, they give out raws and then they edit maybe 3 to 5 photos. And shoot and burn photographers focus more on volume than client experience, right? When you're a shoot and burn photographer, you focus on volume and not client experience. When you're an IPS photographer, you focus on low volume and high client experience. Like an IPS photographer might only have 5 clients in a month. A shoot and burn photographer may have 25 clients in a month. But who do you think is going to be able to give their clients the best experience out of the two? All right. And if you think about that, if you do 25 shoots a month, you're more prone to being divided. Your energy is being divided and you're burning out. But if you focus your energy and effort to 5 clients, make sure these 5 shoots, like you just go crazy with just these 5 shoots. And my mentor told me this when I first started. He said, listen, you need to raise your price and focus on getting 5. Well, he didn't say 5 clients, but he said focus on getting low clients, high client experience. So to all my people that's listening out here, rather whatever platform you're on, if you're doing shoot and burn, and I'm going to get to the pros and cons of both, and I'm not saying that you can't do shoot and burn. If I was your coach, I would push you towards the IPS model because you built that confidence early. So instead of you having to get in your career later and realize that, man, I'm losing money doing shoot and burn, you don't have that confidence barrier that stops you from going back to what you should have did in the first place, which is IPS. So a couple pros and cons of both. I want to start off with shoot and burn. It's some pros with shoot and burn and there's some cons with shoot and burn. So the first pro is that you spend less time with the client. When you're a shoot and burn photographer, you spend less time with the client and it's kind of like in and out. It's really quick. So it's kind of good for those people that's just starting out that really don't know how to sell an IPS model, or they just like that high. They have that high of like just starting out their career. So it's kind of like okay, let's get it. Yeah, I'm gonna do a lot of shoots. I just want to be booked and busy. Okay, booked and busy doesn't necessarily mean you have to be booked to where you doing 40, 50 sessions a month. Okay. A lot of photographers use the booked and busy phrase, but don't understand that booked and busy does not have to be booked where you doing so many, shoots. I would rather be paid and busy with 5 clients than booked and busy with 40. I'm not going to talk too much today. So the next pro with shoot and burn is that you don't need no confidence when you selling to people. IPS, you have to have confidence. No confidence equals no sales in IPS. So when you're doing shoot and burn, it's kind of like You don't need sales confidence. Literally, people book a package and they show up, they pay you, they know what they're supposed to be paid, and they know what they're supposed to pay, and it's just over, you know? So with shoot and burn, it's kind of really easy to like it's kind of easy to get into that because it's kind of self-explanatory. Now, the last pro I want to say on here is that shoot and burn is the easiest way to start. You don't have to have a lot of samples like you do IPS. You don't have to have, I don't want to say very informative packages, but you kind of don't. You don't really need to like put in a lot. It's not a lot. It's not a big startup cost as far as products, samples, props, wardrobes, gowns. And I'm speaking from a maternity photographer's brain, and I niche myself as a motherhood photographer. You don't really necessarily have to have a lot of startup costs when it comes to shoot and burn. So, once again, it's easier to start. Now, these are the cons when shoot and burn. The cons of shooting the cons with a shoot and burn photographer is one, you have a less average sales, right? With IPS, you have a collection price, but a client can add on stuff. And or even without adding on stuff, collections are always priced higher, right? Shoot and burn photographers look at like shoot and burn calls them packages. IPS calls them collections, right? Because it's a collection of digitals and products, intangible products. Where shoot and burn is just, they call them packages because this is all you get in your packages. And I want to say that shoot and burn focuses more on people, poses, outfits, and pictures, where IPS model focuses on images and the tangible things like wall art, and like they focus on prints and they focus on albums, because IPS photographers understand that tangible things are what really matter. Now, I can, if I wanted to, sell someone digital files, but if you think about it, if my IPS image fee is $250 and I give somebody a gallery of 100 files, then I just lost $2,500, I believe. No, 25, maybe that's $25,000 I just lost. Yes, that's $25,000 I just lost because I gave people all of the raws. I gave people, and what do people do with the raws? They go and they take them, they post them, they put their filters on them, and it's just too much. And we photographers know nobody wants somebody to do that to their photos. Come on now. So, like I was saying, the con of shoot and burn is low average sales. The next con I would say is that there's a ceiling on how much you can make. Right? It's like this ceiling. Like, if your packages stop at 500, shoot and burn photographers, then your client is only going to be expecting to spend more than 500. So when you pitch anything farther than 500, it makes them look like, nah, I'm straight on that. So you kind of have this ceiling on your packages because you, like, I like to ask people, what is the most I can spend with you? Ask yourself, photographers, I want you to ask yourself right now, just think, what is the most a client can spend with you? Is it $250? Is it $500? Is it $1,000? What is the most? If someone come and say, I don't want to see nothing else but your highest package. What would be in that highest package? And I know I'm going off topic a little bit, but a point I want to put in there is that the higher your package does not mean the more that has to be in it. Packages sell better through experience and not through what's in it. I think that's very important that we need to understand that. For example, my collection 3, I believe, is $2,100, and that includes 10 images. That includes one album or portfolio box. That also includes $500 worth of credit to spend, and that's it. Some people are doing packages that have 10 outfits, 25 edits, 15 people. I think people got to understand that. And I know I'm going to talk about pricing in another episode. This is just episode 1. But a lot of people have to understand that if you brand yourself right and market yourself right and show that you can solve your client's problem, you can price at whatever you want to price at. The biggest problem with photographers in the game right now is nobody has the confidence to sell higher, because everybody is looking at everybody else's prices and saying, well, if such and such only charge this, then I got to charge this, but I'm not like such and such, so I got to go a little lower. But nobody has the boldness to really look at themselves, check their confidence, and understand that, well, one, if you're a believer, God did not give you the spirit of fear. So if you're fearing something as far as pricing, then check yourself. Check yourself first. And I know I'm just going on a tangent, but really, there's a ceiling. That's another kind. It's a ceiling on the shoot and burn photographers, because it's like you list that the highest I can spend with you is $250. So if you tell the client the highest you can spend with them is $250, the highest they can spend with you is $250, then they're only going to expect to pay $250. Con number 3. Shoot and burn photographers are more of a commodity-based business, since they focus less on client experience and more on client volume. What do I mean by that? You have 2 types of markets. Right now, we're talking about 2 types of photographers. In the next video, we're going to talk about 2 types of markets in the photography community. So the first market is luxury market. The second market is commodity market. And before we go into that too much, shoot and burn photographers are in the commodity market because they charge less, they shoot more. It's commodity. It's your clients aren't loyal. They're more so just looking for the shoot and burn photographers get the clients that look for the best price, basically. Like, and one of my mentors told me, or I saw somewhere, that the income of your client is the most they're going to be able to spend with you. So if you're in a commodity market and your client has those low class type jobs, like let's say like maybe they work at, I don't know, and this is not me talking about anybody, but I'm just saying, like, you're more than likely not going to see somebody that works at McDonald's making $12 an hour driving a Bentley. Right? So the same thing with photography. If you're charging $250, you're going to get $250 clients. The more you charge, the more emotional value you have to your client. The more you charge, the more emotional value the client is going to have when they pay that money. Because if you think about it, you're going to appreciate something more when you pay $5,000 for it versus when you pay $50 for it. You follow me? So since shoot and burn focus on volume, that means they price lower, which means they fall more into the commodity market, which means you get commodity type clients. Okay? But when you're in the IPS model, you focus on low volume, high client experience, which means you get those luxury clients. That's a big, big difference. And in the next video, when we talk about, are you a luxury photographer or a commodity photographer, then we're going to get into that in episode number 2. But the next kind I have is that anyone can book you. And I say that, shoot and burn, anyone can book you. And this is going to be the last one, I believe. But anyone can book you is when you think about a shoot and burn photographer, they can go on your website, client can go on your website. They can click a button and can book you. You don't know what's showing up. So since you don't know what's showing up, it's kind of like you take anything. But with a IPS photographer, there's a process. Even though you spend a lot of time with the client, there's a process you go through. And the first part of that process is a discovery call. And with that discovery call, you vet to see if the client is even worth you shooting. Like, I feel like that's a big difference between IPS versus shoot and burn, because IPS photographers choose their clients. Shoot and burn photographers, anybody can book you. And I think it's important that a lot of photographers don't do this, but photographers, we need to start saying no to clients that don't fit us. You do not need every dollar. I'm going to be the one to tell you, you don't need every dollar. Start saying no. In 2023, photographers, I need you guys to start saying no. Whenever you're watching this video, I need you to start saying no. Look, photographers, you do not have to take every client, okay? Every client is not your client. You talk to everybody, you get nobody. So, now that I've listed the cons and the pros for shoot and burn, I want to talk more about the model that I'm in, which is IPS. I'm going to start with the cons. So you have to spend more time with the client. I think that is a big con. And if you don't have the system in place to do so, then it may be a little rough to be an IPS model. So we use Honeybooks for our client management system. But if you are a IPS photographer and you want to move in that market, you have to understand that you're going to have to spend more time with your client. I feel like everybody should spend time with their client. It shouldn't just be an easy click and book. But one of the cons I will say is that you have to spend more time with your client. The second con I will say is the startup cost is more expensive. And that's because with IPS, you have to have things for people to show. You have to have things to show to people. So since you got to have things to show to people with IPS, you have to like kind of buy startup samples. Like I just bought $1,500 worth of wardrobe gowns, like just the robes for my mommies. And now I have to get wall art. I got to get portfolio boxes and sample. I got to get all these samples because I have to have things to show to people so they can buy it. The next kind I would say is that, and this is probably the biggest one, if you don't have the confidence, you won't make any sales. So all my photographers that's looking to get into the IPS model, listen up. No confidence, no sales. In order to build your confidence, you got to put more work in on the competence part of your confidence. So I think the biggest thing with IPS, the biggest con I would say is that the no confidence 100% equals no sales. And I believe that is for every photographer. If you don't have any confidence, you won't make any sales. So before you pitch a price to a client, before you figure out your own prices, because a lot of times what people do is they'll look at the market and they'll say, well, Steve charged $250 and Tony charged $285. So I'm just not starting out. So I can't charge what Steve charged and I can't charge what Tony charged, but I'm going to charge maybe $175 because I'm just starting out and I've had an experience. I would 100% say that is the absolute wrong way to price yourself, because you got to understand that if you don't do the cost of doing business, then you're not going to know what to price yourself. You should never price yourself based on what other people are charging. That is a big no-no. So before you make your prices, first thing you need to do is sit down and determine and figure out what the cost of doing business is for you. And then you take that and you say, I want to do this amount of sessions. And you also have to figure out your billable hours, billable days. Like, it's a lot of different things that you have to figure out before you price yourself. And a lot of people, when they first start out in the game, they look at everybody else and see what they charging, and they charge lower than everybody else. That is a big no-no. Photographers do not do that. But the pros of the IPS model is here. You get higher average sales. Since you have higher prices, you get higher average sales. That is very important. The next thing is that there's no ceiling on how much you can make. Because people, the IPS people, they come in thinking already that I'm about to spend a lot. So why not spend more? Right? Another pro is that you offer a luxury service, which offers a luxury client experience, which gets you a better quality of testimonials, right? Although shoot and burn, another pro is that since you shoot a lot of people, you get a lot of people posting your photos, which means a lot of people see your work, which means you get a higher chance of more people seeing it and more people booking with you. But with luxury clients, you may get a less amount of people posting your work, but those people that post your work, when somebody else see it, you get a higher quality of client. I would rather a luxury client of mine posts and I get 3 quality clients that's going to play a quality price than a shoot and burn client posts, 40 of them posts, and I get 40 more shoot and burns where the client is a headache. And photographers, I'm going to be the one to tell you, clients can definitely be a headache. And how you can eliminate headaches is you raise your price, because the higher the price, the less prone you are to a headache. The lower the price, the more headaches you get. That is something you're going to learn in the photography market. And this is nothing to the clients that I've shot. I love all the clients I've shot. They've got me to where I'm at. But you have to understand that the price you put out there is attached to a certain customer. So if you want budget friendly, looking for the best price, clients don't really care, show up late, you price low because there is a lower emotional value and you're going to make money. But if you want the client that shows up on time, that's going to look great, that values the client experience, that's not going to ask you how much you cost first, but what is the experience you can provide to me to solve my problem, you want to price a little higher. And I promise you, you would rather have 5 clients that pay you $1,000 and make $5,000 in a month, or 5 clients, than have, let's just say, you do 50 clients, right, at $100 and you make $5,000. No. Do not burn yourself out early. Another pro, which would be my last pro, is that you kind of get you control the flow. Since you don't give out all the digitals, you don't give out raws, you give out prints, you give out albums, you provide the wardrobe. It's a better client experience. So one thing I'll say about the luxury market is it's a better client experience. The IPS model, it's a better client experience. I would definitely say that. And if you want to be known, first, if you hop on IPS, you need to choose a box. And the box is basically your niche. What are you going to focus on for the next 5 to 10 years? Okay, once you develop your box, then you move into your branding, then you move into your marketing, then you move into your pricing, and now you put yourself out in the world, and now people can book with you and you offer a specialty service. This is why every photographer needs a box. Why do you say that, Coach Jet? When you go to the urgent care because something happened to your foot, you see a general doctor, but they say, hey, your foot is broke. Who do they send you to? A foot doctor. Because you need a specialist to take care of your problem. It's the same thing with photography. You have clients that are looking for people that specialize in something. If I need a maternity shoot, I don't want to go to somebody that does everything. I want to find somebody that specializes in maternity. So when I see somebody that specializes in maternity and their page and their brand replicates that, I know that I want to go with them because they're a specialist and not a generalist. They're a specialist and not a generalist. So, personally, the last part of this episode, number 1, the first episode of Certified Photographers, I was going to kind of tell you, and you see that I am a IPS photographer. So people, I just want to let you know that if you're starting out with photography, start off doing IPS. I promise you, you're going to gain confidence. You're going to have a better quality of clientele, and it's going to work out for the best for you. I promise you, start off with IPS. Do not start off with shoot and burn. You're going to burn yourself out. I come from doing 40, 50 sessions a month. You're going to burn yourself out. You're going to burn yourself out. You're not going to have good quality clients. You're going to get a bunch. Actually, I apologize. I have, out of my shoot and burn clients, 5% of them, I've shot thousands of shoot and burns before I started IPS. 5% of them are quality clients that they pay that ticket. They're going to add 10 more images, 15 more images. But look at that percentage. I've shot thousands of people. So photographers, if you're ready to start your journey and become a specialist and not continue to be a journalist, I strongly advise you to book a free coaching call with me, Coach Jett. I'm going to help you find your box, brand yourself, make your pricing, and market to the public so you can be viewed as a specialist in your area. I want to thank y'all for tuning into the first episode. Make sure you come back. Send this episode to another photographer that really just needs to identify where they are at and really just needs that extra push to say, listen, I'm going to do this thing for real. I'm going to be an IPS photographer because I don't want the commodity clientele. I want the luxury clientele. Okay. So I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thanks for tuning into the Certified Photographers Podcast. I'm your certified photographer coach, Coach Jett. I'm out.